Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our monthly meeting of the Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals. At this time, I would like everyone who can to stand and pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I will now call the meeting to order. Please silence your cell phones if you haven't already. For those of you who do not have a copy of the agenda or who are attending for the first time, we will concern ourselves with cases that are on consent. These are cases that have been reviewed by the board and by the professionals from the various departments here in the county, and to which there is no known opposition at this time. We have discussed these in our work session. Certain staff comments and stipulations have been made, and we do not anticipate any further discussion is needed for our decision. So as we go forward, the county zoning manager, Mr. Peterson, will read each case into the record. Mr. Peterson will ask you to raise your hand as your case is called to signify that you are present. If you are here in opposition to a case that is currently on consent, Mr. Peterson will ask you to identify yourself as that case is read into the record. We will then pull the case off the consent agenda and hear it as part of our regular case agenda. We will then vote on all those cases still on consent at one time. Once we have approved the cases on consent, we will then move to our regular case agenda. With that, I'm ready to hand this over to Mr. Peterson.
Thank you. Thank you. Before we get started, there are 3 cases on today's printed agenda which have been withdrawn, and these cases will not be heard today. First case is variance case V81, Timothy Giabroni. This case has been withdrawn without prejudice and will not be heard. Next case is variance case V82, New Oak Real Estate LLC. This case has been withdrawn without prejudice and will not be heard today. And finally, variance case V88, Timothy Bice and Gina Bice. This case has been withdrawn without prejudice and will not be heard today. Madam Chair and Board, there is one case on today's printed agenda which has been continued, and this case will not be heard today. That's variance case V91, Jake Anthony Strange. This case has been continued until the September 13th, 2023 variance hearing, so V91 will not be heard today. And before we get going, Madam Chair and Board, I did get a request today to hold one of the variance cases that's on consent. That's variance case V85, Michael Matthews. There is some more work that needs to be done regarding the site plan. So the staff would ask the variance board to vote on holding this case until your September 13th hearing.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Need a second, please?
Second.
All in favor, place your votes. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
And with that, I'm ready to start the consent agenda, Madam Chair and Board. Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals, variance hearing consent agenda for August 9th, 2023. First case on consent is variance case V78, Carla A. Garcia. Request a variance to number 1, reduce the side setback for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for an approximately 180 square foot shed, required 10 feet to 3 feet adjacent to the west property line. And number 2, allow parking and or maneuvering of vehicles on a non-hardened and treated surface, which is a gravel driveway, in land lot 700 of the 19th district. The property is located on the north side of Pear Road, west of Coxburg Trail. The Board of Zoning Appeals recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, traffic comments. Number 2, development inspections comments. Number 3, stormwater management comments. And number 4, accessory structure not to be used for commercial or residential use. Is the applicant present? Yes. Let the record show the applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case of V78? No. Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V79, Dale Clark and Nadzea Summers request a variance to increase the maximum allowable impervious surface from 35% to 40% in land lot 888 of the 16th district. The property is located on the east side of Acacia Park Place, north of Sill Mill Road. The Board of Zoning Appeals recommends approval, subject to stormwater management comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to the variance case of V79? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V80, David Guadiana requests a variance to number one, allow a fence that is in front of or to the side of the house in a residential district to exceed 6 feet in height for a proposed 8-foot fence. And number two, reduce the side setback from required 10 feet to 9 feet adjacent to the east property line, which is existing in land lots 492 and 545 of the 19th district. The property is located on the north side of Clintwood Drive, west of Bankstone Drive. The Board of Zoning Appeals recommends approval. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V80? No. Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V83, Henrietta L. Level requests a variance to number one, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an approximately 933 square foot one-story frame building with covered storage area from required 100 feet to 51 feet adjacent to the east property line and 78 feet adjacent to the rear property line and to 83 feet adjacent to the west property line. Number two, allow parking and/or maneuvering of vehicles on a non-hardened and treated surface, which is an existing gravel drive in land lot 216 of the 20th district. The property is located on the north side of Stylesboro Road, west of Johnson Trail. The Board of Zoning Appeals recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number one, traffic comments, and number two, development inspections comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V83? No. Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V84, Stefan Bruckner requests a variance to reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for a proposed 512 square foot pergola required 10 feet to 6 feet adjacent to the west property line in land lots 17 and 56 of the 16th district. The property is located on the north side of Willow Drive, west of Willow Creek Drive. The Board of Zoning Appeals recommends approval. Is the applicant present? Yes. Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V84? No. Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V86, Matthew Wilson requests a variance to reduce the front setback from required 35 feet to 24 feet in land lot 138 of the 1st District. The property is located on the south side of Odin's Way, west of Little Willio Road. The Board of Zoning Appeals recommends approval, subject to stormwater management comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V86? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case of V87, Christopher Moten and Bernard Bell request a variance to number one to increase the maximum allowable impervious coverage from 35% to 45%. And number two, reduce the setback for an uncovered patio from required 5 feet to 0 feet adjacent to the north, south, and east property lines in land lot 46 of the 19th district. The property is located on the east side of Ellis Mountain Drive, west of Ellis Preserve Lane. The Board of Zoning Appeals recommends approval, subject to stormwater management comments and sewer comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V87? No. Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V89, Joseph A. Smith and Rachel W. Smith request a variance to number one, allow parking and/or maneuvering on a non-hardened and treated surface, which is an existing gravel drive. Number two, reduce the side setback for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for an existing approximately 240 square foot shed, or excuse me, one-story frame building number one from required 10 feet to 8 feet adjacent to the north property line. Number three, reduce the rear setback for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for an existing approximately 240 square foot one-story frame building. Number one, from required 35 feet to 7 feet. Reduce the side setback for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for an existing approximately 306 square foot one-story frame building. Number two, from required 10 feet to 5 feet adjacent to the south property line. And number five, reduce the rear setback for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for an existing approximately 306 square foot one-story frame building. Number two, from required 35 feet to 17 feet in land lot 705 of the 19th District. The property is located on the west side of Russell Street at the western terminus of Leanne Drive, west of South Hurt Road. The Board of Zoning Appeals recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, traffic comments. Number 2, development inspection comments. And number 3, accessory structure not to be used for commercial or residential use. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V89? Let the record show there's no one opposed. And last item on the consent agenda is variance case V90, Nathaniel McFarland. Request a variance to reduce the rear setback for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for a proposed 550 square foot workshop from required 35 feet to 10 feet in land lot 175 of the 17th District. The property is located on the north side of County Court Drive, east of Shannon Way. The Board of Zoning Appeals recommends approval, subject to traffic comments, stormwater management comments, and number 3, accessory structure not to be used for commercial or residential use. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V90? One? Okay. There's one person opposed to V90, so we'll pull that one off the consent agenda. Madam Chair and Board, and just put it in its regular order. And that completes the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Does anybody have any questions, comments? Everybody good? Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve consent agenda with the 2 cases deleted as read in by Mr. Peterson.
Second, please.
Second.
Okay. Please place your votes. Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, all those folks that were approved on the consent agenda, you're free to leave. Just leave quietly. And the first case we're going to hear on the agenda is variance case V90. Nathaniel McFarland requests a variance to reduce the rear setbacks for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for a proposed 550 square foot workshop required 35 feet to 10 feet in land lot 175 of the 17th District. The property is located on the north side of County Court Drive, east of Shannon Way. The applicant is present. Can I get a show of hands, all those who are opposed to this application? Got 2? Okay, let the record show there's 2 people opposed. All those who wish to address the board, please come forward and be sworn in.
We are now ready to proceed with our regular case agenda. And to state our procedure, Mr. Peterson will read the case into the record. The applicant and/or his representatives of the applicant who wishes to speak will be asked to come forward, be sworn in. Likewise, anyone wishing to speak in opposition will be asked to come forward and be sworn in as well. The applicant and the opposition will have 10 minutes each to present their case. All testimony will be made from the podium to my right, where we have full AV capabilities. Testimony will be followed by questions from the board and may be directed at either party. A reminder that once the comments from all parties related to the case have concluded, the public hearing will be closed, and there can be no further comment from the parties unless we request additional information as a board. So, all right, first case. Good afternoon. Please state your name.
My name is Nathaniel McFarland.
Okay, let us know what you're asking for, please.
So I am applying for a variance to do the setback from the 35 feet to the 10 feet for a workshop that is approximately 550 square feet. It is our request that you approve zoning variance application V90. In this application, we are asking for variance approval to build a workshop similar in size and structure to a detached garage with a rear setback of 10 feet rather than 35 feet as outlined in Section 13 of Article 4 of Chapter 134-197 of the Cobb County Code of Ordinances. We have identified that the northeast corner of our lot as the most ideal location for the structure based on the following factors: existing landscaping, consistency in elevation, and accessibility. As illustrated in Exhibit A, which I have some copies of a sort of survey here, The proposed structure avoids the existing landscaping structures, a concrete basin, fire pit, pavers, and brick, stone garden tier walls, as well as the fruit and flowering trees. If abiding by the 35 feet rear setback ordinance, the structure would impede on the existing landscaping structures. This lot is unlevel, sloping downward from west to east based on our calculations using the measurable heights in the existing garden tier walls and the distances those tiers span. The slope is an estimated negative 7.7 degrees at the back edge of the house and negative 5.9 degrees where the tiered landscaping ends. These measurements are 6.5 feet and 5 feet in height, respectively, and 48 feet in distance. Though there are no easily measurable points to be able to gather the height to run additional calculations, it is easy to notice visually that the yard continues to level out, approaching the back property line. By building on more level ground, additional leveling or grading should not be needed, therefore minimizing the impact on existing trees and foliage. The eastmost side of the lot is where the existing driveway and garage is located, as illustrated in Exhibit A. And by placing the proposed structure along the same side of the lot, it will be more easily accessible. Additionally, this placement would require less disruption of existing foliage for the walking paths and access to the structure. It is our desire to optimize the functionality of our lot and to increase our property value by adding usable square footage while minimizing the environmental impact. After much consideration, we believe that the proposed application accomplishes such by leaving the remaining landscaping untouched, developing a currently unusable section of the lot, and maintaining 22 mature, healthy oak, maple, and evergreen trees. Thank you for your time and listening to us today, and we are happy to hear any questions that you may have.
Thank you.
Would it be possible to distribute these as well? Thank you very much.
Do you have any questions?
Actually, I have a question.
Sure.
So you state that this is for a proposed
Madam Chair.
workshop?
I said, we need to wait for the
Oh, you
opposition.
can sit down, then I'll call you back
Sure.
outside.
Trying to just get your. So, yes, please step forward, state your name and where you live, please. You will now have 10 minutes.
Yes, good morning, everybody. My name is Paul Russo, and we live in the property immediately behind where Mr. McFarland wants to build his structure. He's a great neighbor and everything. The reason that we're opposed to it, though, is that the main living space of our house, which is all glass, it faces out into his backyard. And so we would just prefer that we not see a huge structure right along the fence or so close to the fence. That was really our main concern, and also of what trees were to be taken out. Because right now, the whole view is forest from our house looking out towards his. And that's it.
Okay, all righty. You may be seated, and if we have more questions, we'll ask you up.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
I do have a question while you're
Well,
speaking.
Yes.
I've got to just. Y'all. Okay, thank you. We're now going to close the public hearing, and now the board will have the ability to ask both the applicant and the opposition questions. Okay, who's going first?
Can the applicant please come up so I can ask you a question? So you are saying that this is going to be a workshop. Can you describe what you'll be doing with this structure?
Yes, so I do a good bit of art that is based with some mixed media technology things. I primarily do that art like out in the public and for private individuals, but I'm looking for a space to be able to work on a few things on my own as a hobby to kind of build out my abilities in that area.
But would this be a business where you would have clients coming in and you're
No.
selling your wares from that?
It would not.
Okay. Will this have running water, a restroom?
No, there will be no running water,
So
no
it's just,
restroom.
will you have like an air conditioner? Can you
We will
describe it
run.
a little bit, how
yeah,
you build it out?
Sure, we'll run electricity to it from our main panel. We will likely have some sort of window air conditioning unit, something small. So I will use it as a kind of a workspace, very functional, as well as some storage space for some materials that I have as well. So it will only be me working in that space, and about half of it, and the other half will be dedicated to storage.
So then the gentleman that's in opposition to this is concerned about what trees you'll be taking out when you place the structure back here. So will you be taking out a number of trees? It's very hard to see exactly how these sit. But will you be taking out a number of trees that would give him more visibility to the structure that's closer to the property line?
There are 5 trees that we've identified would likely need to come down. One of those is already dead, so we'd like to remove it anyway. And then the others are in varying levels of health. So there will be a few that we will need to remove. There are still existing trees that would be in between the structure and the fence line to help block the view as much as possible. But there will be a couple of trees that we take out.
So you're going to be taking a couple trees between the structure and the fence line?
Yes,
And like 3, you said?
5 is.
5 will be
is
in
what we've
between there?
identified. Yes.
So then do you think that there would still be a significant amount of coverage so this gentleman wouldn't be able to see your structure?
You will be able to see the structure from his property, yes. There will be at least 1, possibly 2 trees partially obscuring it, but it certainly will still be at least partially visible.
Okay, I don't have any questions right now.
Thank you. So just looking at the graphic in front of you right now, what's displayed, it looks like there's already a fairly open area without trees in it, right about where the 90 is, and going all the way down to where 2023 is, where those are in yellow lettering on that.
Oh, sorry, let me grab my diagrams right here.
Sure.
Is this the one that I passed out? Is that what you're referencing, or?
No, the one that's up in
Gotcha.
front of us right now.
It's on the screen.
And sorry, which area were you referring to?
Yeah, where the arrow's going around and around in circles right now. It looks like there's already a large opening there. Did you give any consideration to putting the structure there?
So there's about a 3 or 4 foot elevation difference in that spot, which would be a significant amount of dirt to be moved. And there are 2 trees that are in the middle there. You can kind of see the branches just to the left of your mouse that actually have the base of their trunk right on the edge of that, which would make it very difficult to move any dirt from that space.
All right, explain to me the elevation difference relative to your house and relative to the site area where you want to put the structure.
So the area that we would like to put the structure is the lowest portion of our backyard. Everything on the left side, that would be the west side, is a good bit higher. So closer to the house, we have actual tiered levels for garden landscaping. But towards the back, it's a pretty steady hill that is probably, I don't have the exact measurements, but I mean, it's at least a 6 foot difference from the west to the east side.
All right, so your house is sitting at 999 basically, your house slab, right?
Yes.
And so you're saying things would be maybe also 990, the closer you get to the right-hand side of your lot, the closer you are to that 999 elevation.
I believe it would actually be a little bit lower than our house.
But if you went all the way to the left side of your lot, you'd still only be at 1,003. So you're talking about like a 6 foot differential, correct?
Correct.
So and there's still plenty of room to arrange for runoff, so it wouldn't flow back towards your house or anything, right?
So there's an existing fire pit there that is built into the ground that was there when we moved in, as well as some flowering trees that we would prefer to not remove because they aid to the aesthetics of our yard.
Got here.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's a
So-
little easier to see the trees on that diagram.
So the concern raised by your neighbor is that they've got a bunch of glass in the back of the house, I guess, and they're concerned about looking directly into your structure. Has there been any thought to any location of the structure by you where it would be less visible to them? And it looks like, starting at like the middle of your lot, going all the way to the west side, assuming that the north side is at the top of these drawings.
That is correct.
It looks like anywhere in there would be more wooded, not just from your current property situation, but from their situation in terms of what they have in their backyard. Is that right?
So the corner that you're talking about there, that's on the more north west side, is actually more open in terms of
Okay.
trees than where we are proposing on the northeast side. So there will actually be no trees in between the structure.
That's
and
on
the
your
fence.
property, but if you go to the yard behind you, it looks like there are a bunch of, it looks like pine, it looks like, it looks like leaf-bearing trees that are bare when this picture was taken. You just see all these sticks going up. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I don't know how many trees there are. There's 2, maybe 3 larger trees on that side in their yard. We would potentially be open to moving to that other corner. The main reason we wanted to pick the corner we did was for more accessibility. We won't have any kind of driveway or paved anything to this, but it's a little easier to kind of move things in and out while carrying things if it's on the right side. But I would potentially be open to putting it in that other corner, but wouldn't be able to maintain the 35-foot setback there either, just based on the existing landscaping that's already there.
What about the middle? Like the middle rear, like right where the V90 is?
That would potentially be an option as well. That, to me, felt like it would be a lot more front and center for our neighbors to see from their backyard.
Thank you.
Of course.
Deidre, do you have any? Since visibility is the concern of your neighbor, once you have completed your construction, would you consider adding some trees back to screen? Is there enough room after the structure is built that you could add screening?
I believe there should be enough room for that, yes, and that's something that we would be open to if that's necessary.
Okay. Any other questions? Are we able to, am I in line to say we would approve it with the landscape addition?
You could, but you need to be specific on where it's going to go and what type of materials in that buffer, and maybe put a condition in there that the county arborist would approve the final landscape plan.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
What is the thinking? Hers.
I'll open the comments to my fellow board members if you have any.
Yeah.
Well, I really agree with the chairman that, that he's taking down, is this a new site? That he's taking down some trees, so that's, the visibility is for the neighbor, will be exposed. So I'm kind of supportive and in agreement that he should meet with the county arborist and to put in a screening, which would be possibly some arborvitaes that grow very thick in the back and tall. But I'd be happy with whatever the county arborist would require back there, because they would know that would definitely block this structure. So that's my opinion.
So, do you,
Yeah, I would just impose the condition that they both build and maintain a visual screen. Yeah.
okay, are you prepared to make the motion? Okay.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your testimony. And in consideration of that, I'm ready to make a motion that we approve this variance with the condition that the applicant meet with the county arborist and come up with a plan to install and maintain a proper screening so that your neighbor's view is similar to what they currently experience.
Mr. Johnson, does that meet all our criteria?
It sounds like it does. We just need to be as specific as possible as to what the requirements are going to be, and then the final approval.
Okay, so let me amend that motion.
Just restate it from the beginning.
I amend that motion to approve this variance with the following condition: that the applicant meet with county arborists to define what project or what vegetation can go in that area to provide proper screening in the back. The applicant will then install it, maintain it, and ask for the county arborist to also sign off on or do final inspections after installation.
I second it.
Everyone, please place your vote.
Do you have a question?
Is this, do we need, oh, you're good? Okay. The motion passes 5-0. All right, Mr. Peterson, next.
Next item on the agenda is variance case V92, Rafini Gonzalez. Request a variance to number one, reduce the front setback for an accessory structure, which is a proposed approximately 64 square foot watchtower from required 60 feet to 13 feet. Number two, allow an accessory structure, which is the proposed approximately 64 square foot watchtower to be located in front of the principal building. And number three, allow a fence or wall in front of the house to be over 6 feet, which is proposed to be 9 feet for the wall in land lot 177 of the 17th district. The property is located on the south side of Fontaine Road, south of Collins Lake Drive. Is the applicant present? The director of the applicant is here. And is there anyone here opposed to the variance case of V92? Got one? Yes, one. Okay, let the record show there's one person opposed. All those who wish to address the board, please come forward to be sworn in.
Good afternoon.
Please introduce yourself, and you have 10 minutes.
Yes, ma'am. So my name is Rafini A.J. Gonzalez, and I am the contractor that was a part of the team that developed this property here on Fontaine Road. I have been contracted by the homeowner to complete this or attempt to complete this project.
I'm guilty of this too, but if you could speak up just a little bit more so we can hear you.
I apologize.
Thank you. Oh, no problem.
So I am the contractor and a part of the contracting team that developed this new construction residence on Fontaine Road. And I've also been contracted by the new homeowner to complete the project that we are requesting a variance for. So I do have a short note that I've written for the board. So to the board and general public, my name is A.J. Gonzalez. I represent the homeowner, and over the last 3 to 4 years, there has been significant development of Mableton and increased demand for the area. My client, who just purchased the home, is indeed a public figure, however, would like to feel the standard normalcies when they are at their place of residence. They have small children, which whom they would like to roam around and be free, just as any parent would like their children to do at home. The ask is not to create a bunker, or an island, or a military base, or even a monstrosity that sits high and looks low on its neighbors. This is not the White House. This is a house with a homeowner that's sole purpose is to protect their family. The ask is to allow just limited visibility, increased safety, and a heated and cooled area so that the property management personnel can receive packages and monitor access to the property. As for the homeowner, They host annual back-to-school giveaways that serve well over 3,000 children in the metro Atlanta area. They also partner with various locally based nonprofits supporting single mothers and families in need. And most recently, they have partnered with the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta to brighten the day of over 100 children, providing toys, books, and various items while they're in treatment or care. Community service and activism is important to them, and it is something that they strive to maintain. Neighbors from both the left and the right have met with the homeowner and members of the direct team who have welcomed them with open arms to the neighborhood. There are no plans to do anything other than to continue to support Mableton as the beautiful, thriving city that it currently is. So with that, I do have some illustrations that I would like to pass to members of the board, if possible, so that we can intelligently speak about the design of what we're proposing. Forgive me if there's more than 5 people. I only have 5 copies. I apologize ahead of time.
Cornelius, is that something we can project for everybody?
Did you want to speak to those as well?
I do.
So keep one.
Okay. There you go. 4 copies. Perfect. All right. So the first image that we're going to take a look at, you can see the property as it sits well about 15 feet above the street level. What we are proposing is a 9 to 10 foot, depending on what's approved, concrete wall that is made out of cinder block, aesthetically pleasing to the home and to the neighborhood, with landscaping in the front. Now, as you can see, there is no watchtower, there is no guard tower, there is no building or structure that anybody would occupy in the front of the home that would cause this home to appear as a prison or a military base or anything of that sort. The actual structure that we are proposing will be located behind the wall that will not be visible to the general public. The only thing that will be visible to the general public will be a window that the personnel that occupies that building will be able to receive packages, be able to speak to visitors, be able to ensure that anybody that comes onto the property are supposed to be there. We can go to the next slide. This is the back view of the wall that we're proposing. As you can see, there are trees that are a part of the long-term landscape plan for this property. These trees will be anywhere between 15 and 17 feet tall. They will not be an additional heightened wall, but more so a landscape feature of the front part of the property. As you can see, there's also a structure that's located behind the wall, which I spoke about, which will be occupied by the individual that will be maintaining the grounds of the property. The structure will be heated and cooled because the person occupying the property, or rather working in that structure, will be there year-round, around the clock. So they will need to have heat and air condition. There will not be any running water in the building. There will not be any sanitary facilities in the building. There will be electrical, however, that will support television screens and security equipment that will help to maintain the property. Additionally, the current wall or current front fencing sits well within the required 10-foot setback from the front of the property. In addition to the black gated entry gate that you see currently is 51 feet from the street, which also is in line with the county requirements. The wall will be painted white, as it is in this illustration right here, which also is exactly what its current color of the entry gate wall is. I'd like to refer back to a few objections, which don't have to be projected, in regards to I'd like to refer back to a couple of objections that I feel, if I were a homeowner in the neighborhood, why I would oppose this particular variance. The first objection that I would see as a neighbor would be causing traffic for construction of this project. And my answer to that would be construction would only last a few days, would not consist of any large commercial vehicles other than the truck that will be utilized to deliver the material, so that would probably only be a 20-minute delivery. And the workers that would then construct this project would all be in personal pickup trucks and small vehicles that could park inside of the property, not obstructing any kind of traffic. The second objection that I would come with is it would be unsightly. And as my very elementary illustration shows, the wall would be, and it would accentuate the beauty of the home that was developed there. There will be landscaping there. The company has already been contracted. They're a very large and well-known landscape company that does a lot of landscaping for the multi-million-dollar homes in Buckhead, as this is a multi-million-dollar home. So the landscaping would also accentuate the wall. It wouldn't just appear to be a barrier of prison-like. The third objection would be, why does a homeowner need this level of protection and privacy? Well, just like any other parent across the nation, my client wants to protect their kids from the world and not hide the kids from the world. They want to be able to walk to their mailbox in peace, play with their kids in peace, and allow their kids to ride their bikes in the front yard in peace. As I've personally witnessed, because of the home's newness in the area and the uniqueness of the home, there are people that ride by and stop in the middle of the road and take pictures and take videos, which also cause significant danger to the general public. With limiting visibility, that will limit the ability for people to stop and take pictures and take videos of this particular property. In addition, I do have something that I would like to project.
And you have about a minute and a half.
No problem, I'm wrapping up. The image that you see now is the image of a young lady that came to the property and rung the call box bell at approximately, that says 11:15 in Central Time, 12:15 on a random night. The security footage that's in the front of the property did not catch where this young lady appeared from. However, this young lady is not a part of the family or friends of the homeowner. Now, if this young lady was in distress, or if this was a potential setup for the homeowner, someone that occupies the tower in the front of the property would have been able to mitigate this, and we would have been able to figure out what exactly this person was doing on the property. So, with that, I'd like to digress and just appreciate the board's approval for this variance request.
Thank you. You may be seated. Opposition, come forward and state your name. Is there more than one person who wishes to speak? Yes. Okay. You combined, you both have 10 minutes. Just.
No, it's not opposition. He's with that.
He's with him? Okay. Yeah, go. Just name.
Yes, my name's Steve Young. I'm with the Mapleton Improvement Coalition. We are not philosophically opposed to the fence or the guard shack, or whatever. We understand the applicant has security concerns, and we want the community to be welcoming to all people, and we want Mapleton to be a safe place for everybody to live. But up to this point, we have received no details about what this structure looked like, and we can't support something we have no idea about what it looks like. We appreciate the fact that the applicant had more detailed information presented here, but we haven't had a time to assess it. So at this point, we would like to recommend denial, because the community just hasn't had a chance to digest this information. Up until this point, we had no renderings, details about materials used or the landscape materials for landscaping, or what the ultimate look of this property will look like once the landscaping has been developed. We understand that the fences on the side are shorter than the fences on the front, which seem to be counterintuitive in terms of security, as a potential intruder could just jump the fence on the side without even bothering with the front. As you can see, it's wooded on both sides, so getting around there is fairly, easy task to accomplish. And in any case, we do look forward to working with the applicant to come up with a plan that's suitable for his security and the neighborhood and the community at large. But at this point, we haven't had any details, so we strongly urge the board to oppose this variance. Thank you very much.
All right, we've now closed the public hearing. This is your district?
I'll open it up to my fellow board members first for their discussion, comments or questions.
Can the applicant come up again, please? On the picture that's on the screen, so if you're, I'm looking at it, it'd be to the right. In these bushes here, I see that there's a wall, but is there some structure, no, down towards the Fontaine Road? There's this white, it looks like a possible structure. I can't figure out what that is.
So
Oh,
currently,
is that the fence going around?
yes, ma'am. Currently, that's the wall for the entry gate that we saw
Okay.
in the rendering. Yes, ma'am.
And then, I think on one of the site plans I was looking at it, it said something about a 10-foot wall, but you're requesting a 9-foot wall, correct?
In the application, we did put 9 feet, but we would like to request 10 feet if possible.
Okay. Okay.
May I address the question from the opposition about the neighbor?
Not at that time, if
No
somebody
problem.
would like
No problem.
to do that, but you are requesting actually not a 9-foot wall, but you're requesting a 10-foot wall?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I did have one question for you, sir. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Is there a timeframe, like, is the family there now, or do they have a time frame to move there? Is there an estimate of how long the wall would take to be built? I would like to know the time frame issue.
Yes. So the homeowner has semi-occupied the property as they have began to move some of their belongings in. However, there are things that are happening at the property which include a significant landscape update to the property per their liking. In addition to, this wall is a very important feature and reason why they would like this property. So they have chosen not to occupy this property fully and wholly until we have a decision from the board.
And do you have an idea of the length of time it would take for them to construct this entrance?
Yes, ma'am. The construction will take approximately a week.
Oh, a week, okay. That's all, thank you.
Thank you. We have a few more for you. We're just
Y'all just tell me when to leave. How about
getting you.
I will tell you when they finally finish
Okay,
the
perfect.
questions, all righty?
This is your aerobic workout today, coming back and forth
Yes,
for
sir.
us.
Yes, sir.
So, did I understand you correctly that there's not going to be a guard tower up in the air? You've modified the original request to,
No, sir. I think that we misspoke or mislabeled what the purpose of the structure was. It was never intended to be a tower. I think for lack of wording for what the purpose of the structure was, we called it a tower, but it was never intended to be a tower.
So there's not going to be a tower 40 feet up in the air or more?
Absolutely not. We're not monitoring a military base.
The only guard station is going to be basically built into the wall right near the front?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Have you had a chance to confer at all previously with the Marietta Improvement, or rather Mableton Improvement Coalition?
No, sir, I have not.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I have a question, another one, I'm sorry. I guess there has been some complaints that we had received with being able to look into the other neighbors' yards, whether that was across the street. I don't know where the individual lives that sent in a complaint. So the camera system that you have, where is it focusing on? Where's your primary focus? Are you focused on the property itself, the house itself, and the sides and the front? Or is it strictly just for the front access?
So there are cameras that are posted throughout the property, the perimeter of the property, that face directly onto the property. In addition, there is a camera at the front entrance of the gate that would be able to catch the image that I showed earlier. In addition, there is a camera at the call box. So the purpose of that is the camera that's at the gate is a 24-hour running camera that never is stopped, that you can rewind back and play back. The call box camera purpose is to catch someone that is attempting to call in the call box. You get a visual of them, you speak to them directly. In addition, the cameras around the property are all perimeter and motion-based cameras. So the homeowner has zero interest of trying to look at or view any neighbors on the side. From my experience working with the homeowner and their representatives and the neighbors, that hasn't been a concern that was raised. I worked on this property personally for well over a year, and the view so I got to know the neighbors pretty well, and that concern was never raised to myself. So it's very surprising to learn of that concern as there's a new homeowner. And these cameras were in place, by the way, before the homeowner took ownership of the property.
So you had to go out and get your neighbor's approval. So in this signature sheet that we have, are these neighbors that are on either side of your property, either side of this property? So, because these seem to be in other areas.
So
Did you get the neighbor to the right or the left of your property, that they agree that what you're doing here and putting in the camera system and all of that? Did you reach out to those? My concern is there's the neighbor to the right, the neighbor to the left, the neighbor to the back, and directly to the back, and then on this picture, go down to that neighbor. Did you contact those people directly and tell them exactly what you are doing with, not so much the fence, but what you're doing to, what you're doing as far as the camera systems?
Thank you for that question. So if you look at the property, and Fontaine Road is at the very top.
Right?
That is, yes, ma'am. So this is a 4.12 acre parcel. So at the rear of the property, there is a pond, and then there's a railroad track that also is in the back of the property. So there are no neighbors behind
Okay.
the property.
I misspoke. I was talking about the neighbor across the street. I'm sorry. I
No problem.
misspoke. Across the street and to the sides.
Yes, ma'am. So one of the signatures on the piece of paper is the neighbor to the right if we're looking at the overhead shot of this picture. The neighbor to the left, however, has been in the process of putting their home on the market and moving, and they don't have an opinion as to whether or not, they would like to approve or disapprove this request. The neighbor to the directly across the street, their house sits about 70 feet above the street level. So therefore, it doesn't matter what size wall we would build, they still would have 100% view of the property. So we felt as though that neighbor's opinion or recommendation, it would just be, it wouldn't prohibit them at any point because of how high their home sits from the street. We did not, to answer your other question, we did not ask for anyone's approval to put perimeter cameras on the property.
So, I'm sorry, I'm just perseverating on this, but the neighbor to the right and the neighbor to the left, what is this address? I would think, since you sit on Fontaine Road, it'd be Fontaine Road, and I see that in your application, I don't see, you have those two approvals in your application.
We have one direct neighbor for the property. The other neighbors are surrounding neighbors that would be passing by the property and seeing the wall on a daily basis. And if they had an opinion as to whether or not the project caused them any danger or prohibited any views, or if they felt like it was unsightly in any way. So we felt that it was important to have representation from not only the neighbor next door, but also surrounding neighbors to get their view on it as well.
Okay. Thank you.
I have one or two questions. I've driven the street, and since this is totally out of character with everything else on that street, have you given any consideration to matching some of the concrete and metal style that is already on the street? And have you given consideration of lowering the height of the wall?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your question. So initially, when we developed the property, we did give consideration to similar style of fencing. Our fencing that currently exists on the property is exactly the same style of fencing that's on a property 3 doors down that's currently on the market, and which includes a post and metal fencing in between it. However, the client that purchased the property, this is what their request is, and so I'm representing.
I'm sorry?
The person that purchased, the homeowner, this is their request. So I'm here representing what they would like to change versus what we did initially during construction. And I think what we currently did during construction, it allows too much access to the property that the client would actually like to prohibit.
Anybody? Anything else? Are we ready to make a motion? Oh, wait. We've also can't.
Ask him to step down.
Step down, yeah. Step down, we're finished. You can sit down, I promise you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Also, Mr. Johnson, can you speak to the change in height issue?
The addition of the height's not what was advertised or as part of the application. I mean, I believe this board has a discretion to alter what gets approved. But I don't know that I would advise or recommend that based upon what was advertised, but it's within your discretion.
Okay. All right, are we ready for a motion?
We are. So before I render a motion, I just wanted to make a few comments on record, because we've received a few calls, a few emails regarding this particular variance request, and it's been kind of divisive. And the main 2 points that I have heard is fear of the unknown and the uniqueness of Mableton, and what it's presumed to be. And when we talk about hardship, for me, the hardship was understood in terms of safety. I think everyone who purchases a property is conveyed with bundle of rights. One of those rights is quiet enjoyment. They are entitled to enjoying their property without the interference of others. And I could not sit quiet and not hear the concerns of safety, especially when it comes to family and children, no matter who they are. And while my personal public safety concerns are not similar to any public figure by any means, I don't have that. And a simple electronic system would suffice for me currently. I know that that might not be my neighbor's situation. And so for me, the hardship would be simply the fear that is realized, not actual, that's actualized, not realized or proposed. So I feel like, so my motion is to approve B92 with the following conditions, that they erect the 9-foot fence as proposed, with a 3 to 4 foot some type of vegetation buffer. If they will work with the county arborist and have that approved, I would like to see it be something that will stay green all year long, that does not die, so that it maintains the aesthetic and provides the buffer and the consistency along that road. Because as I have driven down that road several times, I've seen varying properties with varying types of fence. This particular property in particular is a modern built home. It is not consistent with anything on that road, or maybe it's a couple doors down, but most of the properties are a little bit older. And so I don't feel like the fence as proposed negates the aesthetics of that property. So again, my motion is to approve B92 with the condition that they work with an arborist to provide a buffer in the front, 3 to 4 feet, that will remain green all year long.
Do I have a second?
Second?
We ready to vote? It passes 4, 1 negative. Okay. Are you done, Mr. Peterson?
That completes the agenda.
Okay. All right, we have a little homework we have to take care of. We have 3 sets of minutes, folks, that we need to approve. Let's first review the appeal of administrative decisions from the last meeting. It's the orange one. Has everyone had time to review it?
Yes.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the administrative decision meeting?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes to the administrative decision meeting on July 12th.
I second.
Second. All in favor, please vote. Passes 5-0. All right, let's go to the minutes from the variance hearing the last month, July 12th. If everybody's had time to review, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Alice. Second, please. Thank you, Ms.
second.
Swanson. All right, everybody put their vote in. All right, passed 5-0, and now the last piece in the puzzle. Our work session from August 7th. Everyone has time to review. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All place your votes. And then your favorite motion. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
Will
moved.
somebody make it? Who made the motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a
I'll
second?
second.
All right, place your votes. All right. Thank you, folks. That ends our meeting for today.
That's tough.